Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Microsoft Zero to Hero community. This is another weekend, another Saturday, and we will have another session with a community speaker that is going to talk about developing secure AI-enabled applications in .NET and Azure, which security is important. But before getting there, let me share some news and about the community. This is a community built by the community for the community. We have only a simple code of conduct, and it is to be respectful to each other and listen to each other. If you want to follow us on social medias, you could go to microsofthero.com, and there you could follow the news and what's going on in our community. We are part of microsoftlearn.com, and in the calendar, you could also see what are the sessions that already been held and what are the upcoming sessions. Without further ado, I would like to invite Jonah Anderson, our guest for tonight's session. Hi, Jonah. Welcome.
Yes. Hi, Shahab, and everyone that's watching us live today on YouTube and also on LinkedIn Live. I think we are on LinkedIn Live as
We are
well
on LinkedIn,
today.
we are on StreamYard, we are on YouTube, and we are also on Twitch
Yes.
recently. So
Yeah. All
all
right.
platforms,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. It's good to be back and nice to see you because I remember we met in person in one of the conferences in Germany
Yeah.
as well, and it's my second time for this meetup to join. I remember when the community just started, I was one of the speaker and shared about cloud migration. Like I think that was like two years ago, and now the
Could have been,
community
yes.
has grown a lot, and you're also one of the organizers and hosts. So it's great to work with you.
Yeah, thanks. Great to have you back. And stage is yours. I'm sharing the slides now. So,
Yes.
let's get it started.
Yes, so let's go ahead, everybody. So I hope everyone are sitting comfortably in your couch, car, or wherever you're watching this, mobile or your TV or your phone. But I'm live actually right now. I'm alive and kicking and moving, and I'm in my home office. It's Saturday evening, and I'm so glad to be able to sit here and share my knowledge about DevSecOps and how we can develop secured AI-enabled apps in .NET and also in Azure technologies. And I remember I yesterday, it was Friday, of course, I did share an internal learning session from my to my colleagues about how to build AI agents using MCP servers and Microsoft Foundry. But today, I'm doing another level where I share to the community in public about DevSecOps. So I look forward that you will find this presentation very useful in whatever you are building or planning to build. So before that, I would like to share a bit about myself. So just to keep it short, you see everything here. I'm a Microsoft MVP, MCT as well, or community lead author. But I used to work as a consultant for the last 10 years, working with system development, focus in .NET, and now I focus a lot on Azure and also putting on a hat as cloud infrastructure team lead, leading with our DevOps and cloud platform. And part of my work is actually the topic that we're talking about, securing our DevOps pipeline from code to production workloads. But a little bit about me. I work for myself now as an independent consultant. So I have one client I work with. I am the author of Learning Microsoft Azure. First edition was released 3 years ago, and I'm currently writing the second edition this year. And also, think writing a self-published book on the side, which I will share later. I also am the founder of Azure User Group Sweden, which is like the sister, like a collaborator of this community as well. So I founded Azure User Group Sweden, and we also have sessions there every Saturday. And I'm glad that this session that I'm delivering right now doesn't conflict with the one that I'm hosting. So I have a lot of things to share. You can talk to me of the things that I listed here. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or ask questions later if you want to reach out or collaborate or have questions related to this topic. And just to give smile to you this weekend, that is not an AI photo, by the way. That is a photo of me and my dog Lawrence last New Year in his tuxedo. So I'm a dog lover. I have a lot of interest, but I'm very proud to say I'm a dog mom to this cute but large Labradoodle named Lawrence. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably have seen fun photos of him and me together sometimes. So, what are we talking actually today? So, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna try to discuss about a .NET application, which is can be very can vary depending on what kind of architecture that you have. But in this session or talk, it will be a combination, a bit of theory or demo presentation that you see here, and also some code examples and how it looks on VS Code. If you had the code, both the front end, back end, and how the YAML pipelines works, and then you will also see a bit of Azure DevOps and how it looks, the infrastructure on Azure. So, what we're trying to protect today is a .NET stack. It is actually a realistic kind of application where, of course, you have the front end, you have the back end, and in this case, since we're talking about protecting the 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 back end with AI, and one of the tools that is available today when it comes to using MCP servers or Microsoft Foundry for AI integration, at least in the .NET and Microsoft Azure stack, it is the Azure Functions MCP tool trigger. And if you have not tried working or building agents using Azure Functions, if that's your like kind of field, because there are different ways to build agents today. But MCP tool extension for Azure Functions is one good way to self-host your agents on Microsoft Foundry. So we're gonna have that in our like example application, and it has a back end of Blazor. There's a chat UI, assuming it's an AI feature chat that an application might be enterprise or a small one, and it has a chat UI that talks to the agent, and it has .NET 10 as its language, and then it uses Azure Function, MCP Server, and Flex Consumption, and it has an integration with Microsoft Foundry and a GPT model. So in this use case example that I'm going to show you, at least for demo wise, is just using one of the GPT models for demo purposes. So if you're expecting me to do toggle with different models, then I didn't made that yet. It's more like focus a lot on DevSecOps. And then if you have questions later, feel free to ask it later on at the end. I will have a special time after that demo. So what we're gonna, I mean, in this scenario that we do have like we're gonna wrap in our DevSecOps. I think most of you are familiar what it is about. It's just like basically you're injecting security in your DevOps processes, regardless if you're using Azure DevOps or GitHub or whatever is the tools that you and your team are using to deploy code to the environment or to cloud or to production. So we're gonna wrap it in with like using Intra ID with RBAC roles that is intended to protect the identity, regardless if it's a managed identity or a service principal or identity of the person that's accessing the application. The reason why identity is number one because identity is the number one thing that is being targeted when it comes to security risk. And then we're gonna also try to mention or include Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So the Defender for Cloud is not just for Azure stuff, Azure resources that you hosted in Azure. You can actually use it as well, regardless if you're using GitHub for your GitHub actions or pipelines, or you can also use Azure DevOps for your enterprise deployments or release management. And then there's going to be like extensions that will be mentioned depending on what kind of codes that you're trying to protect. For code scanning, for example, I'm going to share a few that I have implemented in my demo. And then there's Key Vault as well and manage identity for that. So before we start, I want to like share a bit. So that was like the prototype of example .NET technologies that are very close to applications today. So when we talk about security and also the AI innovation that we have today, our applications is not like the good old days where you have the monolithic. I mean, it switched from monolithic to microservices to serverless, and now they still exist. Those things, we're still having challenges handling technical debt, but now we also have to add the layer of AI into the integration. So now we do have more challenges when it comes to building applications, regardless if it's .NET or any other languages. And there are three shifts that shows up when AI features or using MCP server tools as as part of the integration of any code base or source code, regardless if it's a new one or it's an existing source code or applications that are being modernized or integrated into an AI kind of solution. So if you notice, I think I'm guilty myself as well. I think all of us developers are trying to use or adopt at least AI today. And one of the tools that we try to utilize, of course, is to do Copilot or pair programming with Cloud Code or any tools that we have. And probably our companies provide it. Of course, we need to use it. Some enterprises are taking it slow. Some enterprises have adopted it, that they're allowing their developers to use AI tools as their pair programmer. And regardless of any scenarios or situation you're into in your project right now, it is a fact that these three shifts that I'm showing you right now, that sometimes you, with AI coding with you, you might have code that you didn't write because AI or Copilot suggested you how to solve it. And that's not a problem because AI is very smart. It can outsmart us as well. But if you didn't get into the loop of the logical thinking and reviewing that code, then there's a risk that AI took over. And if there's no security inside it, or there wasn't any security DevSecOps implemented from code to the deployment to production, then we see a possible risk for that. And then now that we have um, MCP servers and AI tools coming in, we're still adapting, of course, in the learning, but then we do have a new layer of attack surface on top of what we already have. Before the AI, we have to deal with database and SQL injections. We have to think how we protect our connection strings, configs. on configurations, sensitive data out of the code, and make sure that they're not pushed to a public repository, and do the best practice as much as possible in the DevSecOps parts. But now we also have to have this new layer. And then we have wider wider integration involved right now, so wider blast of radius when it comes to security. So if a developer or an infra engineer make a mistake, such as like one misconfigured information or secret in the infrastructure as code, the backend, or any NuGet packages, which is
Mhm.
external, that has been implemented in any layers of your code, that can be a risk as well. So I think in all of this, all of this shift left, like answers. I mean, shift left wouldn't be possible unless it is done into practice. So,
So basically, sorry, Jonah, just to wrap up my brain around what you already said.
uh,
I think we have like all this software engineering practices, and then we are adding an AI layer on top of them. But still, we need to make sure that the AI is sticking to those software engineering practices. And the same thing applies for security practices, right? We had the SQL
mhm.
injection, and now we have prompt injection, and then we need like to be aware of these kind of new surfaces that are emerging and apply again like the best security practices when we are developing the applications, right?
Yes, exactly. So we have the prompt injection. Like I mean, before we only have SQL injection and other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And now we have to have new layers of things we have to learn. I mean, if you're not working in a security as a security engineer in a project, then probably if you're just a developer, you wouldn't know about all these things unless you're informed, right? Because in the good old days as a developer, probably you're still catching up with AI. You're used to, oh, this one, this code, I'm gonna write it very well because I know X SQL injection
Mm-hmm.
exists. But if you're a developer who's not even adapted to how AI works, or doesn't even understand it, and didn't even know that prompt injection exists, then you wouldn't even think about
Yep.
writing a good prompt to avoid it and all these other practices, right? So
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
makes that's very true. Anything you want to add in this?
Oh no, no, just wanted like to
Yeah.
review to for my understanding.
Yes, and I also want to highlight to everyone. Maybe we can share, Shahab and us
Mhm.
can share also.
Yep.
I mean, you can also search. You can take a look at about this, like the OWASP LLM top 10 risk for this. I mean, this is a good security like list of things to think about, and I know one of the new list item there is attack surfaces is on MCP and all this prompt injection today. So there's new layer that we need
Mhm.
to think about. And I myself is actually not just talking this like for presentation. I'm actually dealing with security remediation all the time because we're using Microsoft Defender for cloud in our project, and we thought that our application is secure, but there is still this small things list of things we always have to do to avoid our application to be at risk because of this new layer of attack surface that probably the applications were not prepared for before AI evolution has arrived. And I think there are many of us that are still in the challenge. So to move forward, we're gonna we need to change our mindset actually, that what DevSecOps is really about. I mean, before, I mean, when I was a developer, I'm a developer, I could do the coding. And then when I was asked by my client, Jonah, do you want to be the lead of the DevOps team? And then Of course, I did agree because I like learning new things. I like understanding the flow from code to production. But we always see this misconception of what DevOps is or what DevSecOps is. For me, I mean, as I wrote here, DevSecOps, it's not a tool. It's how our teams work in our enterprise, in our projects. So to me, the top three principles that I think all of us needs to shift when it comes to DevSecOps, that it's not just the responsibility of a security engineer to secure the applications. It's everyone's responsibility. It's a shared responsibility from code to CI/CD pipelines to like quality assurance, even when you're monitoring and doing reliability, like preparation and governance into when it's in production. So both shift and right, shift left, not just shift left now, but it's also shifting right, meaning catch the issues that you may face or security risk early. As much as possible, like in your IDE when you're coding with Copilot, when you are doing pull requests, there are a lot of tools at GitHub right now that allows you to do code scanning, and it's part of my demo, by the way. But there are tools already in the CI that can prevent or stop any risk of security threat from the code before it even gets to production. And then, of course, with the help of Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you can also like keep watching the production applications by remediating what are at risk, and the tool for that on Azure is very good. And if possible, we do have AI now. Why not use AI also to build something that can automate the things that you want to protect? So automation of the gates. So if it's possible to build an agent that helps you with the security, whatever is the gates that you have to secure your pipelines, utilize that. But the point I'm sharing is that DevSecOps is a teamwork, just like anything in any project. Because if we point fingers that it's just a security engineer's job, then I don't think it will be a successful kind of security we're doing in our applications.
This is very interesting. Today,
Yeah,
yeah,
go.
a
What's your
couple of
input
days
on
ago,
that?
like a couple of days ago, I read like in one product that now building is a teamwork, and I was like, it was always a teamwork. It's not
Yeah.
just like for the AI age, but yeah,
Yes, and I
interesting you
think
pointed out. Yeah,
also it's not just actually the engineering teams, not just the developer, the DevOps engineer, or infrastructure platform engineers and security team and the admins. But I think it's also good. I think there's also a non-technical perspective here. We also need to involve the business team, which is
absolutely.
often has a different perspective when it comes to application, right? The business team only wants features, but the teams that are really hands on, they know what are the possible risks. But when you are able to communicate to everybody, technical or non-technical kind of teams, that security is a shared responsibility, then I think it will be clear. But I don't know, how is it in your perspective or your project?
Absolutely agree. Like we need to involve like everyone
Mm,
is part of the team. It's not like the technical and non-technical separation is kind of like to me looks technical or mechanical,
mm,
but it's like the business people and like we have like this collaborative modeling that I really like which
okay.
is the goal is like to involve everyone in the understanding of what we are about to build and what are the challenges there. So I absolutely
Yes.
agree. Yeah.
I consider also we I mean, I've been in the consulting industry, and I see different layers in different projects, and there's also different kind of like communication, and I think, I mean, it's different when you're like learning from a conference, learning from a community. It's good. We're learning the basic, but you really learn a lot for in action when you do it in the real projects. I think you
Mhm.
can also relate. I can relate, but one of the things that I do see, and in my perspective,
Mhm.
is that I consider security risk as like kind of like a priority in a way that it is also as important as technical debt, something deprecated, and if you don't do it, then this applications will stop. But let's just say if your SSO login or your login feature in your app is at risk for security and it's live in production, there is a risk also that the identity of your users are being threatened. And if your entire website is getting hacked because there's no DevSecOps implemented to it, then everything will be affected, including the
Yeah,
business aspect of it. So I think it's very
exactly.
important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's proceed. I want to. I have a few things, more things. It's very interesting discussion. So that's good that you are joining in. So I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that's a great idea. Okay. So as in continuation also of what we're talking about, just like in application development. I mean, I'm a developer myself also, so I'm familiar with like you do the coding, you just you push it there. But we are in a different layer now. We're talking about security, and if we think about security perspective at every stage of life cycle of it. So usually you have the same way like you do the DevSecOps, you have to plan the threat model, you have the design review, you have your code, you have your security can be in the IDE itself when you code it and push it, the CI/CD. It can be a threat protection also using Microsoft Defender for cloud.
Mhm.
That gives us the information what needs to be handled. And then also during the build, you can do SAST, secret scan, when that is on the build process, and then test, DAST, and then container scan, infrastructure as code scanning. And then when it comes to deployment, we also have to check that the managed identity that you're using for your service to service integration or service identities that you have has this rolling updates from time to time as well. How are you handling tokens if it has a service principal tokens or client tokens that needs to be recycled? So sometimes you do a forever client token and you didn't know that
Okay.
that token is already at risk. So sometimes it's good to have rolling updates and using secondary keys or primary keys option kind of strategy as well. And then also operation part, which is includes the posture management, and that is actually a continuous loop in the cycle. So if you take a look at the DevSecOps like symbol, it's actually a loop in all of this cycle, but we're injecting or integrating security inside it, just like the normal application. But this time we need to be mindful of like any integration related to AI can also needs to be considered as well. So, so when it comes to AI and MCP, so we do have different tools that we can utilize where we can do shift lift. So when it comes to IDE, for example, like regardless if you're using BS Code, you can consider using like Copilot, GitHub Copilot in chat to do a security like check on your entire source code. Like depending, of course, you need to be the leader and the pilot of your prompting, but you can use actually AI within your IDE to make sure to catch any security issues before you commit that to your feature branch or you merge and do a PR request. And then make sure you can utilize like Azure Functions Skills MCP servers that's available for you already in the local environment using your IDE. And then, of course, when you push the code, there might be a few things that AI or Copilot or you have missed. So do another layer, do the PR review. And during the PR review process, there's the Copilot Autofix, there's CodeQL. In GitHub, there's Dependabot. And then if you're using uh, Azure DevOps Enterprise, Azure DevOps instead of GitHub, even though the GitHub Advanced Security is kind of like already default and built into a GitHub, you can actually integrate that feature into your Azure DevOps as well. So do that also in your PR. And then when it comes to pipeline, depending on where you are hosting it, there's actually Microsoft Security DevOps, there's Trivy, the Checkov, which is part actually of my demo. I'm going to show you how at least it looks in a YAML pipeline. And then when it's in production, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, Security Copilot, and then the Foundry IQ as well, or use AI to also help you with that when it comes to security and having an oversight of your platform. So, Defender for Cloud. This is actually a new feature that were announced in May. So if you have Azure, for example, or you already have a Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you can actually use Azure DevOps connector or GitHub connector to set it up so that you can see the 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 existing status of this environment in a security perspective. So I'm gonna like show at least how it looks on Azure, where you can build that connector. Of course, there are step by step for that. So that would be good. And I think it's time for me to do a bit of demo soon. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you at least how the how it looks in a code, and how you can implement different kinds of security, like what do you call that, gates within your pipeline in your application. And the application was the one that I shared to you earlier. So let me just switch screens here. Stop screen, present a new one. Let me do this first.
So far we have like tools and capabilities to check for various security issues for different target levels, right? Whether
Yes.
like scanning for I don't know, for example, a connection string is not like pushed to our Git repository, or at runtime we have like the Microsoft Defender to check for security problems that might be in the application.
Yes, that's right. And yeah, and I think most. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in your project, you use Microsoft Defender for cloud.
Oh,
Do you know?
that's a very good question, but
I like
we're not
discussing,
using that at the
like
moment.
I'm having a conversation
Yeah, yeah, no, no,
on
that's a
live.
very good question, but I don't know actually what the security engineering team is doing there.
Yes, you
But
need to
definitely,
have the
it,
shared responsibility more. You can tell them.
yes,
Just kidding.
that's my
Uh,
Monday questions and responsibility. Like, go and talk to them.
Save it for Monday because you learned something new from Jonah on the user group. Anyway, so I want to share at least an example Azure DevSecOps demo I have. So this is I'm skipping the live demo because there's a lot of things. I did a dry
Mhm.
run where I could plant issues and things, but I can try that. So what I'm trying to do actually is I'm going to just give you a tour of the project, how it looks, and how most especially the YAML pipeline is structured to protect the code, both infra-wise, front end and back end. And then how are the possibilities within the code, like which part of the code can this Azure functions that uses MCP and C sharp can be a risk, and how the tool that I have implemented here will stop that if there's a risk within the pipeline. So I'm not gonna do the full demo, but if you want a copy of the entire like YAML that I did, I can share the repo later on. But basically, the flow, the example that I have is an app. So I have my infrastructure as code. I have my source code. Use ACD here, Azure Developer CLI, to deploy this to Azure. So I love it. It's easy. But you see here that in my source code, I do have a front end, which is a Blazor app. That probably is none of the things that we need to go through because we're focusing on how we are securing the applications, right? And then here we do have our functions, Azure Functions app that has an integration to Microsoft Foundry. So here we have, so it's an AI enabled app because there's Foundry in here. So basically, it has, let's just say I have an application and I created a chat support for it. That's how you would see it in the big picture. And the front end has a chat client that has an integration to AI. Like for now, it doesn't have real data, but it's more like chatting to AI as its front end. And then there are different risks where a developer can probably make a mistake and push the code accidentally and give a security risk to a production application if there's no DevSecOps like strategies implemented within the pipelines already. So one example that I see here, let's just say if a developer kind of maybe a junior one or not using AI or AI is also stupid model, then there's a big risk that one risk, like what you see here in line 51, is the Foundry API key. If you're tactless as a developer, you can actually hard code that key, and that can be already a risk. So there's of course best coding practices to secure whatever is secret in your application during the local development. But one of the best practice I would recommend is using Azure Key Vault and coding it properly. Another way that a front end, for example, can also be at risk is like components such as NuGet packages for like front end like frameworks. So if you have a NuGet packages in the front end that probably are not supported or outdated somewhere, that can be a risk as well. So what? Let's just say this one. So if you have package references that probably are at risk, that can also be a threat somehow, like outdated. And those outdated can be scanned by our tool. And then how does the infrastructure as code looks like? At least you see how the application is. So the application, let me see if I can zoom. So if you see here, so we have a web app. It has a front end, which is the chat bot. You can say chat bot that has integration with Microsoft Foundry. It has a back end, and the function itself has the necessary Azure resources such as like hosting plan, the blob, the storage. It has app insights. It has an integration to Foundry, and the UI uh, has a role of open AI user role, and then it has some model, and then an identity here. So it's very very simple, very simple apps in a way that, for example, on the infra code here, let me see, work can let's just say bicep main that bicep is good, but where can a DevOps engineer writing bicep module can give wrist for security? So one of the things that I see that has a risk, like for example, when you're creating a storage account, usually if you use an ACD, I mean, if you're new, then you don't really check on this specific details by default because it's just template. But if you're really keen about the security and you're doing it in a real enterprise or production application, you would be mindful on this line or settings or component or properties for the storage account in line 37. So for example,
Mhm.
you would if you want to, I mean, for demo purposes, of course, if I want to break it, I can change it to like true, allow blob public access. If this is true, then it is a security risk because you shouldn't allow your storage blob to be accessible to public. It should be always false. And then in the network part, if you want to like um if you want to tighten like your network settings here as well, if you make a mistake of not allowing or denying it, then it could
Mhm.
be a problem as well. You had something to say?
No,
Good.
no, I'm just listening.
Yes. I hope the time is still okay.
Yeah, we are like 40 minutes into the session, so we have like 20, 25 minutes left.
Okay, that's fine. I'm think I'm almost done. I'm just like showing actually the possible risk here for
Hmm.
like issues. Like I'm looking at the infrastructures code. I'm not sure if you're like, do you do infra code in your work, uh, Shaw?
Sorry,
Do
what
you
was the
do a lot
question?
of infrastructures code in your line of work?
I used to write like infrastructure code as well,
Yes.
but currently I'm not doing that. But our teams like are writing a lot of like also the infrastructure code.
Hmm.
They're using, but they're not using like Bicep per se, but other equivalent
Yeah.
like tools that are in the market, like depending on the task.
Yes. So what I'm actually sharing here to our audience or to everybody as a learning session is that like I mean this is just one resource that we're
Mhm.
trying to like look at. It's just like when regardless if you're using Bicep or Terraform, sometimes there are tools that are, hey, you can just say, hey, let AI do the templating for
Yeah.
Bicep or Terraform. But there are, I mean, AI gets the information from the data across the world, right? And there might be a risk that the default settings, for example, the allow blob access
Hmm.
storage is not set to false, which is the best practice. And probably that is missed. And if you're not mindful about a few things, you don't really need to know all these things. But if you don't have a pipeline or automation that checks on these small errors, then it could be a risk as well, and it can happen in any kind of code, like infrastructure as
Hmm.
code. It can be found in
Like
the
I have a
NuGet
question,
and everywhere.
like I have a question regarding, for example,
Yeah,
this
please free
specific
to. I
example.
like discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, all good. Regarding this specific example, like to not allowing like public access to blobs, right? This is a setting you are setting to false in your
Yes.
bicep files. Is if by accident, like someone set that to true, like to allow public access, where do we catch this? Because I could use Bicep, I could use Terraform, I could use Pulumi, and these days I could also use Azure. I could use also the Spire, right? To be able also like to deploy like to production.
Yes, you can actually see this. I mean, you're asking where is it caught in terms of security?
Yes. Is it like in your pipeline or is it like after the deployment and then it checks like the resources, like what the settings are?
Yeah, it will be in the pipeline actually. So basically
Mhm.
this is a code demo for now, but I do have one more I'm gonna show. So this is the front end. I hope you see that. So this
Yeah.
is the front end. Let's just say this is Jonas like AI. app where it has
Yeah.
a Blazor, simple one, and that's the front end. I don't. It's just a simple one because we're not focusing on the front end now. But I want to show, like for example, an introduction before I answer the full
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
picture. So
Go ahead.
here is the we have the infrastructure as code, right? And in the infrastructure as code, I mean, currently it's built properly. And
Mm-hmm.
what we're gonna try to do in the demo is we're gonna break that it won't go through because
Mm-hmm.
Jonah or a developer that doesn't know so much about how things work because he or she is just dependent on
Yeah.
AI for prompt engineering and not really like thinking about best practice. We're gonna try to flip this and break this. Like instead of this is false, we're gonna set it as true and we're gonna push the repo and it should never push through or go through. It should break and it shouldn't even build.
Mm-hmm.
And it should
Yeah.
show in our DevOps pipeline. But before we do that, I want to see the big picture of this. So let's just say I'm showing my Azure subscription ID, but it's okay. Let me just refresh. One moment. So I have this resource group here. It shows anyway, but that's fine. So we have. Let me zoom. So here you see that I have my backend, which is the function app. This is my managed identity, the entire like infrastructure that I showed earlier. There's even an event grid here because
Mm-hmm.
it's there's an integration for that. And then in Foundry, just to highlight, if you really want to um, like do things in the Foundry way or AI way, you can utilize, of course, going and do that for Microsoft Foundry. But since we're focusing, because in Foundry, you can, I mean, the AI layer part, I mean, we're talking about DevSecOps in the code. But
Mm-hmm.
if you also want your AI to be very smart as well, is you can actually use guardrails in Microsoft Foundry as well. So let me
Mm-hmm.
just go pull that up. I have one example actually here. It's not the one that I have for this specific one, but I want to show that if you also want your AI to be protected or you follow compliance, you can use
Mm-hmm.
guardrails features of Microsoft Foundry and do some evaluations in terms of protecting the AI or Foundry part. But to answer your questions, this is the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Azure DevOps. And if you see, I do have the repository here, just exactly as what you see in the VS Code. And I have the infra, I have the source code, and everything. But in my pipeline for this integration, where I have everything in one file, I everything looks good. But if we go inside here, I do actually have some kind of different ways to check. So maybe it's better to show it here in the YAML file. So in my project, I do have Azure pipelines, but already in my YAML file, I do have several stages. So this is not the classic variation. So this YAML pipeline is not an ordinary pipeline that only pushes the code directly. It does actually have security gates. So aside from the schedule that you see here in line 16, so it has a monthly, weekly scan. It also has so after the PR goes through, so it's gonna do security scan after the PR has been approved and even it gets built. So there are different stages of the security scan. So the first job of the security scan is to scan for secrets using git leaks. So here you do see a reference. There's a script that curls to that tool. and then it's gonna run, uh, and it will check if there are any secrets that are being leaked on this PR merge or push
Mm-hmm.
of the code. And then it's going to do a check because we have everything in one, right? It depends on the structure of the repo. For my project, for example, we have one repo for the back end, one repo for the front end. And if it's microservices, there are different repos. But for this code demo, I have one repository. I have infrastructure as code. I have front end, I have back end. So I have to do several security scan within this YAML pipeline. So I have another job. I mean, I can edit this as much as I want and set conditions in the YAML file, but I also have an infrastructure as code scan, which scans my bicep.
Mm-hmm.
So what it does is it's going to run the script, and it's going to try to, using the tool Checkov, which is a third-party tool that you can take a look as well. It's going to check the infrastructure as code if there's any risk for security here as well. And then if you want to have another layer as well, which is the CodeQL and secret scan in ASC, I mean, I'm over protecting my pipeline, by the way, for security purposes, but
I
you
guess
don't
that's a
need to
good
do all.
practice.
Go ahead.
No, I thought
Sorry.
I think that's a good practice, like to do that.
Yeah, I know. But I want to show to everybody that you can utilize not just the Microsoft Defender for cloud, which has the feature of CodeQL, secret scan, and infrastructure as code. But you can also utilize other tools, so you're not just stuck to the default Microsoft products as well. There's an open source secret scan that you can also utilize, maybe cheaper. And then so I have three. I have the Checkov, I have the Microsoft Security for DevOps, which has both the CodeQL secret scan for that. But there are other things also that you can utilize, like cred scan. There's a lot of tools actually that you can do, but I'm only adding three of them, at least for now. The secret scan, git leaks, check off, and then Microsoft Defender for cloud for DevOps. And then you might be wondering, like, Jonah, how did you kind of like make sure that it will work in your Azure DevOps pipeline? Because, for example, like the non-Microsoft ones, such as the git leaks and the checkoff, they are not Microsoft. They're not built in for Azure DevOps, right? So in order for you to actually have your pipeline or YAML file to work, you need to have the extension actually. So you need to ask, if you're not the organization owner of your Azure DevOps, probably you need to ask that person to go inside the organization settings. So since I'm the owner of my organization, I'm gonna go inside my organization settings and also make sure that I have the extensions. So the extension that you need for everything to work, at least in this pipeline, like security scans that I have built in my demo, the YAML file for this application, it needs to have the Microsoft Security DevOps. So if you want to know where it is, you can actually go to the marketplace. So if you're familiar with Azure DevOps or GitHub, there are marketplaces that you can integrate. So this is the Microsoft Security DevOps that you can add, and then there's a documentation and guide actually how you can add it in your YAML pipelines, and even do a publish option to do the logs, cost analysis logs on what it found out during the scan. But the most important thing is you need to have the extensions that are required for this. And how does it look like? Let's just say if I accidentally made changes to this. Let's see, I hope my pipeline is gonna, because I did a test run on this before our presentation. Otherwise, I have at least the one that worked before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to make it fail and see if it will detect that I made a mistake. So I'm gonna go ahead. Where is the Foundry client? I think we have one that for the infra where I want to flip it to true, allow shared access,
I think it's line 37. You already
Titan to
flipped it to
deny.
it.
Yeah, I did that already. So it did
Yeah.
that already. So what I'm going to do, fake demo only, open code for security risk by setting to true instead of false. Not really good, but just a test. Okay. Let's see if my pipeline runs. So I'm going to sync. So I have my YAML like pipelines integrated already. Let's go on my project and see. I hope it triggers. Otherwise, I can show you the previous thing I
I
had
mean,
to
it's demo
do.
time,
Let's
so
see.
we expect also like some misbehavior as well. So
Is it? Yeah, I know. But it should push something at least. It's still thinking. Did it commit? Let's see. You see, 2 hours ago I did run this one, so it did go through. But if not, then I have actually a backup how it looks at least. It's still thinking.
mhm.
That takes time. But anyway, while it's thinking and we're waiting for the pipeline to build, I do have actually how it looks because I did test this earlier. So what I did is like there's a break. It's gonna break somehow here, where I have an example. This one.
Mhm.
So what I did is I did false break the pipeline where let's just say I had a lot of security risk on my commit. So what it does is it's gonna like kind of like tell you that hey, your okay, all went through like secret scanning, you don't have a leak, all went well. You have the infrastructure scan that looked well. But when it comes to like container, because I also added a feature where if you have a container in you, because I do have container in this source code, I forgot to show you how the Trivy scan, but Trivy scan does the scanning if you have a container apps or containerization. Then it did actually tell you that there's a risk that was found uh, in in the in the container, and it will not go through in building the code itself. And same goes with every step that you set up. But if you want it, if you don't want it to stop, then you can actually just like make conditions within your YAML file. So I think that's it. I have at least to show. There are many ways to do that, but the main thing that I want to highlight is the tools that we have. So let me just continue sharing my PowerPoint soon, so we can have more questions and discussions when I'm almost done. And conclusion, of course. We have few minutes almost done. So
Mhm.
that was the demo. I hope it's a bit clear at least. I was toggling in between, but that's how it looks like when you're working in action, right? So what I'm trying to show right now when it comes to like what we've learned so far is that is that it is important for us to I mean, you have this mental model of how at least the different phases of DevSecOps. It is a practice. It is a shared responsibility. Also, there are different tools that you can use. You don't have to use all of them, but use the ones that you really need to protect. If you don't have a layer for that. And also, there's Copilot, Microsoft Defender for Cloud as well. And then, if you want a copy of this repo, you can also do that. But one more thing, I also want to mention. I don't have to show, but if you go to Microsoft Defender for Cloud on Azure, and then look for DevOps security, maybe I should do that. Let me share again one more time. I think it's good to have
Yeah, it
one
would
more
be
time.
more clear, like for people,
Yeah, I
like
think so.
where to
Instead
look
of
for
just
it. Yeah.
talking and showing. So I have one thing I missed actually sharing. So I'm doing a. I want to show you also. I wonder what happened to my pipeline because it didn't push it. I'll take a look at it later, but I did show that it should fail. But what I want to show you is that, so this is your Azure, right? But if you
Mhm.
have Microsoft Defender for Cloud in Azure, I'm just going to show you.
Mhm.
So there are different ways how you do the use Defender for Cloud, right? I mean, this is like my my personal one. But if in the real enterprise scenarios, you do have your security posture here, you have your Azure subscription, but focusing only on the security part, where cloud security is huge. You need to have network security, AI security. This is also probably good to check. So if you have sensitive data, this is also very good to utilize AI discovery. But talking about DevOps, since we're doing DevSecOps, if you want to, if you notice here, I have integrated my Azure DevOps with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So you do see here that I don't have a very high security recommendations, and it has an agentless scan protection. So all of my repos in GitHub are turned on, meaning as long as because of the connector to GitHub, I'm able to see the overall perspective of how my repositories looks like, and I can also see my recommendations. For now it's low, but if I get a high, then it's worth grabbing an attention. So currently I have GitHub integration, but if you want to, for example, integrate Azure DevOps into your Microsoft Defender for Cloud to have this overall picture, you can actually use that connector name and then set it up yourself here as well. So you have the overview, just like how you evaluate the risk for your resources within Azure, and then you can set up security alerts. You can do workbooks and have a full picture of how it will look like in your resources. So here, for example, I have a repo in GitHub, and it's telling me it's low because it says that your GitHub repo doesn't have dependable scanning enabled. So that's a low risk, but if it had more, then it will give me and tell me that. And this is very good if you have a lot of projects or repositories in an enterprise level. For me, I'm not an I mean, I'm using my Azure or Defender for Cloud. This is just for demo, but if I worked with the real ones, then it's a different case. So I'll stop sharing now and just finalize this up. So I'm not eating much of your time because probably dinner time for many. So
Or breakfast time.
breakfast time, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
For me,
depends
dinner,
where
and
the
also for
yeah.
you. But breakfast, I hope you eat eggs. I like eating eggs.
Yeah.
Good protein for that. So that's all I actually have to share. So I want to like share also that I have my book. If you're new to Azure, feel free to scan the QR code or go to this website learningmicrosoftazure.com. I'm still writing the second edition, and if you want to read it or you want to be the early reader, I can acknowledge you. Feel free to just like reach out to me if the code doesn't work. Probably I share a lot of QR codes, but you can trust me that it's not a spam QR code, because you need to be careful what QR code you scan. But that one is from me and not something fishy. So if you want to access my learning course as well, because I do share about how you can develop AI agents using Azure or Azure MCP, Azure
Yeah.
Functions MCP tool. So I built a course with LinkedIn. So I think this QR code will direct you to access my course for free without signing up for a LinkedIn Premium, because LinkedIn Premium, I think you have to pay like 300 or 400 Swedish crowns to get their learning courses. But this one, if you're the author, then I could share a QR code to those that wants it for free.
Hmm.
But other than that, I think that's all. I have learning resources to share, but I think it's just good to just go to Microsoft Learn as your like top level encyclopedia of everything Azure or everything security. So just use Microsoft Learn, and I highly recommend you to check out also security related topics, regardless if you're a developer, DevOps, or you're an AI engineer. It's very relevant that you know how security works as well. I'm learning, even though I use it day to day. There's so much to learn. But other than that, thank you so much for your time. Say tack in Swedish, salamat, because I'm from Philippines. And thank you. And I'm welcomed for any questions from you also, Shahab, if there's any, and also from our audience. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn and also on X, and also email me at jonah@jonah.anderson.tech if you want to discuss or need help with your projects. Because I'm also a consultant now, so you can also hire me. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's
Uh,
all.
I
Thank
don't
you.
I don't see any question in the comment section for now. Thanks
Mm?
again, Jonah, for sharing all this insightful knowledge with us. I hope we are taking security more serious on our day-to-day job. Like on every task, we
Yeah.
think a little bit about it. Like maybe we need to use more something more secure in
Yes.
every
How
stage
is
of.
it going in your project so far? Like, do you feel like after reading or learning from my session, do you think that your organization that you work for are there?
I think they are already there. Like they're already
Yes.
applying
Okay.
like most of the things. Also like developers on day to day, they already like using Azure Key Vault and identity like managed identities and all of those things in every project that needs like configurations or secrets. Also like the pipelines and everything is over managed identities.
Yeah.
Like from developer perspective, everyone is there, but I'm pretty much sure like the infrastructure team and the platform engineering, and because we have like all the things in place, and we need to make sure that we are not exposing. But every
Yeah.
day there's new things that are coming up, whether it's a threat
Yes.
or whether it's a best practice. So we need all to keep learning.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad I could share what I know so far. I'm not like a expert security engineer. There must be some other people that are good at that, but I do know that the tools, at least, that we
Yeah.
need to think about when it comes to like working with AI and utilize. I highly recommend Microsoft Defender for cloud, because they have cloud security protection for different kinds of resources, including DevOps and protecting your data and AI as well if you have it on Azure.
Yep, perfect. There's no
Yes.
question popping up, so I think that's it for this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in this blue planet. Wish you all good things, and thanks
Yes.
for joining us.
Yes, and thank you,
Bye.
Shahab, for having me. It's
Our
been
pleasure.
finally we made it.
Our honor. Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you.
inviting me.